To continue talking more about what is happening right now in Venezuela, let's welcome international law expert Ivonne Téllez. Welcome, Ivonne, to another briefing from the South.
Luis Alberto, enchanted to be here.
No, it's always our pleasure. So, Ivonne, today we have in this National Enlistment Day in Venezuela, something that was called by President Nicolas Maduro yesterday, Friday, to show the unity of the Venezuelan people in the defense of their homeland in the face of the aggressions that are taking place recently from the U.S. government. What can you tell us about the importance of a day like today?
Well, of course, it is of due importance because Venezuelans under the beginning of a threat of a use of force have all the legal and sovereign rights to prepare themselves in case of an attack. That's of course a scenario that we don't want to see, but under the current actions and the narrative that the U.S. is bringing to the tabloids and the media and the official responses and discourses that the U.S. has deployed, we can see the beginning of a threat of the use of force. Or under these actions, Venezuela has all the sovereign and legal right to prepare itself.
Yvonne, one of the narratives that have been imposed by Western hegemonic media, that mandated by the U.S. government, is there are many narratives of misinformation of the Venezuelan reality. And one of them is an apparent lack of trust in the Venezuelan government, that the people do not support the Venezuelan government. Yet we see in images that we are seeing today in the different Bolivar squares and military headquarters where the enlistment is taking place, and lots of people going in from all ages to sign and to express that they are willing to fight in the defense of their homeland. Do you believe that if those narratives were true, if they truly did not support the government, could images like this happen?
Definitely not, and I think we have to separate three issues that are take account here in this situation. First of all, what happens within a sovereign country is a matter of that country. That means that the principle of non-interference has to come along and has to be a baseline for the actions. In this case, first of all, and answering your question, yes, of course, I agree with you that under the support that we are seeing, that means that definitely the government holds civilian support. And even if, and I want to make this point clear under the international law perspective, even if the government didn't have that support, it doesn't mean that any foreign country or international organization could enter into the territory to make decisions about its political, economic, social, cultural system. That is, the independence and the sovereign independence of any state has to be respected. So answering your question, yes, of course, there's an enormous support, and that's evident. But however, even if it didn't have, I mean, I'm talking about Venezuela itself and its government, even if it didn't have that support, that's an internal affair that doesn't have to be questioned or doesn't have to be or to fall into a foreign interference.
You were saying no one has the right to interfere in the internal affairs of the country, and this is enshrined in the UN Charter and international law, as you were saying. Then does these actions put more into question, because they are already being highly questioned by the Global South and many countries, the validity, the currency of the international institutions that are supposed to safeguard these rights, that we see a country, the U.S., openly, because it's not covered, openly saying that they're going to do something that is clearly illegal, and yet we see no response coming from these international, traditional, in a way, international institutions that are supposed to condemn these actions. How can we analyze this in the face of other organizations that have come out and condemned it, like Al-Batisipi and many other countries that have condemned what the U.S. is right now doing in the Caribbean, threatening Venezuela?
Yes, and I think your question is of high importance because there are two main things at stake here. One of those is the law of the sea, yes, and the other one is the use ad bellum. That means the use of force and the regulation of the use of force. That is public international law. So in this case, what we are seeing, there's something that we have to take into account, and what has been condemned. On the first place, the U.S. naval presence of Venezuela, and I'm talking about of the territorial baseline of Venezuela, is not per se unlawful. What I mean, and I'm talking about the 12 nautical miles. But, however, and this is what I want to highlight, what is not permitted under the law of sea and under international law is the fact that there's a narrative, about an unlawful threat of use of force. Because even what can be done under what the U.S. is saying is that in high seas, the U.S. can, yes, of course, take action against illegal vessels that are at high seas, but within the territory of a state, or even close to the borderline of the territory of a state that is calls for hostile actions. That has been said, that's under the United Nations Charter. That also has been said and stated by the International Court of Justice with previous jurisprudence regarding that the U.S. under this case could not claim, for example, self-defense, or could not claim just the rhetoric of international security because it's threatening the territorial baseline and the territorial seas. The territory of the high seas of Venezuela. So that means that whatever the U.S. wants to do against probable terrorist organization has to be done in the high seas, because using, for example, and labeling the actions against foreign terrorist organization does not by itself create an international law license to use force. So under this umbrella, or under this legal umbrella, what we expect, of course, is the international condemnation of these actions, because this is a possible international armed conflict that could take place between these two states. And yes, we're seeing that the global south is condemning, because of course this has to do with this traditional political and economic blockade and condemnation that the U.S. has been leading for all these years, that the regime has been before the Venezuelan government. But that is something completely different. That is a political division that has nothing to do with what the international law says can be and can't be done.
Thank you very much, Ivonne, for your inputs hearing from the South as always.
Thank you very much, Luis Alberto, for the invitation.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. We're going to stay in touch for upcoming debates and to continue following up on everything that is happening.